Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss how the old school way of retirement is dying today and what changes you need to make now to avoid it.
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some shocking retirement statistics about today's changing retirement that you need to be aware of.
And in our Chalk Talk segment today, we are going to go over some important questions to ask to make sure you choose the right financial advisor for you.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better.
You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches.
I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and applied them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome in to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss how the old school way of retirement is dying today and what changes you need to make to avoid it.
That's right, Wendy. The old definition of retirement would be to wake up late, sit around the home, maybe read the newspaper, play some golf, drive around town in the Cadillac, catch the early bird special at the local diner, maybe watch some TV, go to bed, and get up and do it all over again. Mix in an occasional trip in the RV or maybe a cruise. Retirees had a simple formula. Hit 65, stop working, collect your pension check, turn on Social Security, and these two would replace your annual income you had before you retired. And now also you rely on health benefits from your employer and maybe collect some Medicare to fill in the rest. Perfect. That was retirement. However, folks, those days are all but over. Pensions are dead. Less than 20% of American workers have one today. Social Security is not enough to live off of today. And health insurance continuing from your employer is as rare as having a pension from your employer today. And investing your 401k plans and other plans, you are completely on your own today for the most part when it comes to these accounts that you have through work. It's a lot of scary stuff. So now you have to change the way that you think and plan for retirement. So today we're going to discuss some of the important stats you need to watch for and how to find the right guide to navigate these ever-changing and really scary times for a lot of people who are retired or those of us that want to retire, Wendy, in the next 5 to 10 years.
What you were describing, the old way of doing things, that's exactly what my parents had. It, autopilot, where you just did your retiring, you knew what was coming up, everything was taken care of for you. Kind of easy, right? But as you mentioned, Chad, times have changed. And autopilot is no longer there for a lot of us. We have to be actively involved, but there are some good things about that. I know a lot of my friends or myself may be a little bit of a control freak and we want to have control over our retirement savings. Right. So, but you definitely have to put a little more work into it and planning. Like you
do have to put more work. You have to put more planning into it. And again, if you're a control freak, that's an okay thing. Yeah. But for a lot of people, they miss that autopilot. And I think the biggest thing is just the unknown. It's scary. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you have a guide to help you every step of the way on this journey through retirement, but also getting to retirement and making sure that plan is set up properly. Also, when we talk about finding that guide or that advisor to work with, there are some important questions that we want to talk about that you need to be asking those advisors, asking yourself and educating yourself and making sure that you know the answers to those questions. And really if you ask an advisor certain questions, you want to know the response that you want to get back that knows you're working with the right person. So those are some things that we're going to talk about today, as well as pointing out some shocking stats that you need to know about.
Yeah, the shocking stats. Sometimes I don't want to know those things, but I guess it's a good thing to know, and then we can change that from becoming one.
Sometimes you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to get to a better place. So sometimes it's good to know those numbers.
All right, and that's what we're going to do today, put you in a better place there at home. All right, when we return on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some shocking retirement statistics about today's changing retirement that you need to be aware of. Stay tuned for that.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system.
This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some shocking retirement statistics about today's changing retirement that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, and some of those stats, Wendy, that we're going to show you will probably surprise a lot of you. But for others, it may not surprise you at all. You may actually be in the same boat as what these statistics show. And all of these relate to the changing landscape of retirement and what we're talking about today. And as most of you know, and as we said earlier, retirement today is completely different than it was 20 to 30 years ago. Retirement, for those of you sitting out there watching, is going to be a lot different today than it was for your parents or your grandparents. So today is more important now than ever, though, to educate yourself and work with someone who can help educate you so that you can make the right decisions as you get closer to retirement, or even if you're currently in retirement right now.
Well, and Chad, I think, it makes me think how important education is when it comes to retirement or really anything. I think about our kids and how we were taught, math or other subjects back in the day. As I'm trying to learn the same thing with my kids, education on that end has even changed. So it's so much more for retirees today to kind of adapt to the new retirement plan.
That's funny you say that, and Wendy, you can probably relate to this. I'd say I'm probably about on a third grade math level anymore because of the way they've completely changed of how the way that they do it, right?
Right.
It works, and the kids probably are a lot smarter than I was back then, but the way that they do things now, you're right, Chad, it's completely different. But if you don't keep up to date with that, you kind of get left behind.
That's right. We don't want to get left behind.
No, we don't.
We better get into these statistics then and show people what we're talking about. What is this first one?
So the first one is 1 in 3 Americans who are at least 40 have a plan to have a job in retirement to prepare for longer life. So again, 1 in 3 Americans who are at least 40 years of age right now have or plan to have a job in retirement to prepare for a longer life. And one of the main reasons why they are planning to work in retirement because they are afraid that they will run out of money in retirement. And really, Chad, this is the number one fear of retirees today. As we talk about all the time today, less than 20% of American workers have a pension. And just imagine what that's going to be 10, 20 years down the road. If you're 40 years of age now and you're going to retire at 60, 65, I wouldn't count on pension and I wouldn't count on Social Security at all. You're pretty much going to be completely on your own at that point.
Well, I mean, we're all working, and we're working to get to retirement, and we're not working to continue to work in retirement, if that makes sense. So, I think you've worked 30, 40 years. You need to enjoy retirement and start planning for that as opposed to planning to continue to work in retirement.
Right, and there are probably some people who do want to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a lot of people who health issues and grandkids they want to spend more time with. So
we run into it more and more often now, people working to 65, 70, or even older because they love what they do. Right. They really don't have hobbies. This is what gets them out of bed. This is what keeps them going, and that's good. You should continue to work. But for those of you that really want to retire, you need to start planning now, so it's whether it's 62, 65, you can do and have those dreams that you've always wanted.
All right, so what's the next statistic?
Number 2, staying mentally fit. And this is kind of what we talked about. This would be one reason why maybe you want to continue to work, is staying mentally fit, preventing boredom, and avoiding depression are among other reasons why Americans plan to have a job in retirement. So not only are people planning to continue working because they're afraid of outliving their money, but also because they do not have a plan to enjoy retirement. And this all goes back to not having a plan, whether it's with your investments or with your personal life. You need to have a plan on what that looks like. If you're 60 years of age right now and you want to retire in 2 years, you need to start building a plan now so when 2 years hits that you're able to put that plan in place. Don't wait till you're 3 months from retiring and say, oh, now it's time to start building a plan. Now, in saying that though, Chad, Even if you're just now retired, it's still not too late to build that plan.
You know, and I think, you know, just this past week, kind of building what we call an evaluation for a client and going through some of the client information, you know, I was very impressed to see as we were talking, you know, the client had travel in the budget. He had, you know, exercise. He had hobbies, golf, basketball, things that, you know, he knows in retirement, him and his wife, they're going to do together and also they're going to do on their own. And this was all in their plan that they had already planned for, and I think that's important.
And that's great. It's not just always about money, even though that's what we talk about all the time, is having that plan and having that money coming in. It's about having that life. You know, either you work to live or you live to work. And in my opinion, you should get to the point where you don't have to work anymore unless you really want to, but have the money coming in to be able to enjoy life.
All right, what's the final statistic?
The final one would be to the share of the population who is 65 and older in 2018 is up 30.2% since 2010, just 8 years. So think about that for a second. In 8 years, the U.S. population for people age 65 and older is up over 30%. People are living longer. Life expectancies are increasing. This means you have to plan for more years in retirement, more money that you need to have saved up, and make sure that you understand. This is probably what scares the most people, is they have no idea how long they're going to live, so they have no idea if their money's going to last. But again, we go back, that's where a plan comes in. You set that plan up, and that plan is set up to get you to 65, 75, or 105. No matter what age you are, you want to build your plan to get you throughout the rest of your life. The thing is, and that's what's scary, that's an unknown, Chad.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you go back to having that plan, and it's so important to really understand, you know, parts of that portfolio, that income, how long is it going to last? And like Chad just mentioned, you know, a good part of that income plan needs to last throughout the rest of your life, not to a certain life expectancy or to a certain age. You need to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that income's going to come in, as you mentioned, whether you're 80, 85, or 105.
And that's where that advisor comes in, Chad, to be able to help you with that.
Correct.
Somebody holding your hand. That's always a good thing.
That's absolutely right.
Hey, there's more information ahead for you. To download our free white paper today about the changing story of retirement, visit slagelfinancial.com/empoweryou. And coming up on Chalk Talk, we're going to go over some important questions to ask to make sure you choose the right financial advisor for you.
Let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this, or I didn't make this team.
Everybody in here.
That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed some eye-opening retirement statistics about today's changing retirement that you need to be aware of. Now we're going to go over some important questions to ask to make sure you choose the right financial advisor for you.
That's right, Wendy. We've been discussing, some of the changing landscape of retirement today and how it's different than your parents or grandparents, and how the burden is now on your shoulders, not your employers, the government, or really anyone else. You have to be proactive and build a game plan. So you don't have to worry about continuing to work in retirement unless you really want to, because you're afraid you'll outlive that nest egg, or because you're afraid you'll be bored and depressed in retirement because you have nothing to do. So what we want to do today is we want to show you how to overcome those worries so that you can enjoy and be successful in retirement. The best way to overcome all of these objections and all of these concerns and these crazy stats that we just threw at you is to make sure that you're working with a guide, a retirement specialist, somebody, as you mentioned earlier, Wendy, somebody to hold your hand so you don't have to go it alone. And that's really what we want to talk about today are some questions that you need to be asking if you're interviewing advisors, or really even asking the current advisor that you have now. And not only do you want the answers to these, but you need to educate yourself on these questions that we're going to give you today, even before you get the answers from the advisor, to make sure that they are on the right track as well.
And I think, most importantly, trust. Trust is earned, it's not given. So you have to find somebody that you can trust that's going to guide you down this journey called retirement.
All right, I know we've got a lot of those questions, so let's jump into what is the first one? So
the first one is, it's pretty big and it's pretty broad, but really, what services do you provide to your clients? In other words, you're asking this to an advisor that you're interviewing, is what services do you provide to your client? You want to make sure you have an advisor to help you with that chooses vehicles that match your risk tolerance and your time horizon as you get closer to retirement. Number 2, help you build a written retirement income plan. Number 3, revisits you and your portfolio regularly, meeting with you every 3 to 6 months. Also helps you with your health insurance, Medicare options, and a lot of times this is one that's left out, as well as legacy planning, long-term care planning. And another big one today, Chad, that we find more and more that people need help with is that tax favorable strategy. Because now you have a lot of money in these qualified accounts that's never been taxed. How and when do you draw those out, and what do those taxes look like? It's not just something where you take your paperwork to H&R Block and drop it off. You really need to put some thought into these strategies.
Well, and it's different because when you start working and you're raising the family, running a business, whatever it may be, you're in that kind of accumulation phase, you're grow at all costs. You're looking for somebody to just kind of help you build that portfolio, put a portfolio together. Pretty simple, take a lot of risks, that's about it. And now all of a sudden retirement planning comes and you need a specialist. You need that advisor that's going to work in all of these different aspects of retirement planning, as Chad just mentioned, whether it be tax savings, whether it be legacy planning, protecting your assets from long-term care, and oh, by the way, also putting that really good portfolio together for you.
All right, you say the second question to ask is, are you a fiduciary?
Yeah, and this is a big one, Wendy. You need to understand, before you even ask the question, you need to understand what is the difference between a fiduciary and the suitability standard. And a fiduciary, of course, according to Investpedia.com, our investment advisors are bound to a fiduciary standard that is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, or state securities regulators, both of which hold advisors to a fiduciary standard. Means they have to do what is in the client's best interest, not what's in a company's best interest. The suitability means that you have an advisor that works through a broker-dealer, and they have to fulfill what is called a suitability obligation, which is loosely defined as making recommendations that suit the best interest of their client. In other words, they have to do what's in, not necessarily what's in the client's best interest, but what the company recommends, whatever's suitable for the client and what that current company that they're working with recommends. But again, you want to make sure that you do your own education on this, Chad.
Yeah, and I think just understanding the difference between those two is kind of the first step. And then the second step, most importantly for all of you, is finding somebody that you feel, you trust is going to be putting your best interest first, and that's first and foremost. So just understanding the difference between those two.
All right, let's move on to the third question.
The third question is very simply, Mr. and Mrs. Advisor, how do you get paid? How will you get compensated? And a very important question for your advisor, and most people do not know now, even though you may have been working with an advisor for the past 5 to 10 years, you probably have no idea how your current advisor is getting paid. A lot of times we talked about that suitability standard. A lot of times with the suitability standard, when you put money into different mutual funds and different accounts, you were charged a load right up front before that money ever went to work for you, or they may be a commission-based. If you have an advisor that goes by what's called a fiduciary standard, they may charge you a flat fee to manage your money, or they may charge you an annual fee on the basis of the assets that you have. So there's all different ways, but again, you need to understand how your current advisor is charging you now, or if you're going to work with another advisor, you need to understand to the penny exactly how they are getting paid and how basically you are spending your hard-earned dollars.
Well, and it just comes back to being transparent. Are they getting paid in ways that you don't see, or would you rather know and see and have that transparency of exactly how your advisor is getting paid?
All right, and now moving on to the fourth question.
And the fourth question would be, does your firm hold your money in investments? In other words, does your firm hold my money if I'm the person investing? And the answer is no. They should have it in a reputable custodian, one that is untarnished by all the financial scandals that we've heard about the past 10 years or so. Companies like Fidelity, TD Ameritrade. And another question that I want to put on here that's very important is, what's your investment philosophy? Most advisors' philosophy is grow at all costs, put it in there, and we're going to get the best gains that we have and make sure that our numbers are comparative to, say, the S&P 500 or other indexes that we compare them to. Or if they're de-risking your portfolio, they will take you out of equities and put you in bonds, which may or may not be the right thing for you. So you should really make sure, as you get closer to retirement, you want to make sure you're working with an advisor that works in all three worlds, the banking world, the Wall Street world, and the insurance world, and making sure that they're building a proactive plan. If you're 62 or 65 and getting ready to retire, you need to understand over the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to have a lot of corrections in the market. How is your advisor going to handle those corrections? That's why we talk about being proactive and build a game plan. Don't be reactive when it comes to investing your hard-earned dollars, Chad.
Well, and everyone out there, you know, your risk tolerance, your income needs, the retirement goals, your lifestyle goals are all going to be different. So you have to have that firm, that advisor, to really focus on your needs and build that plan based on you.
All right, and the final question quickly.
The final question quickly. How will we touch base about my investments? In other words, you want to make sure you're working with an advisor that will sit down and meet with you when you prefer. Usually what we recommend is every 3 to 6 months, especially because of the economy and the things that are going on now.
All right, to download our free white paper today about the changing story of retirement, visit slagelefinancial.com/empower you. When we come back on our strategy play, the Chads are going to dive deeper on 3 of the most important questions to ask when searching for a financial advisor.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your monies that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to dive deeper on the 3 of the most important questions to ask when searching for that guide to get you successfully to and through retirement, or that financial advisor to help you every step of the way on this journey through retirement. And we talk about that, Chad, probably one of the biggest ones we see today is understanding the top answers to know. And number 1 is, are you a fiduciary? Do you have an advisor, or is your advisor acting in your best interest, or is he recommending vehicles that are suitable for you and doing what's in the company's best interest first?
Yeah, and I think it's a simple question, and it's pretty much a simple answer. So, you know, it's an answer you need to know exactly which one they're operating at, or as we mentioned before, under the fiduciary standard, or are they operating under that suitability standard?
And again, you need to educate yourself and understand the difference between the two, so when you get the answer, you know it's the right one. Number 2, how are you compensated? And this is probably one of the biggest ones that we find today, Chad. I would say over 90% of the people that we sit down with on a daily basis have no idea what they're paying in fees for probably their largest asset.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when it comes down, there's different ways advisors can get paid and firms can get paid, whether you're a fiduciary, suitability standard, but, you know, you can have a planning fee. You can have a fee-based plan as far as they charge a fee on the amount of assets. They may get paid through different institutions when you put some money in different vehicles, whether it's life insurance, legacy planning, long-term care, or some income planning. So different ways, but it's important to understand.
The key is you should know exactly to the penny what you're paying in fees before you start working with that advisor. Number 3, what is your firm's investment philosophy? At this stage of the game, it should not be about grow at all costs. It should be about holding on to what you have and making sure it lasts throughout the rest of your life. And in my opinion, in today's economic environment, make that 6 to 8% and not get blown up when the market goes down. And make sure that you have a plan where you're not constantly chasing the market, where you're proactive with a game plan to get you successfully to and through retirement. We talk about splitting that money into 3 different buckets: that secure bucket, that growth bucket, and that extra bucket, and making sure it's set up for you and your beneficiaries as well. Are you unsure of where to start when it comes to planning for your retirement? Do you need the right guide for you and making sure you have that retirement specialist working with you to get you successfully to and through retirement? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
If you have any questions about today's show, or if you'd like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@slagelfinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today.
Your host and coach, Chad Slagle, and join
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice. Appreciate it. Thanks.
It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've covered a lot of ground today. What would you say are some of the key takeaways, Chad?
Number one, understand the changing landscape of retirement today, and understand this is not your grandparents' retirement. Number two, work with an advisor and firm who is looking out for your best interest, and make sure they're doing what is best for you, not what's best for the company. And number three, know the important questions to ask your advisor and educate yourself on what those right answers are before you ask the question.
And we want a reminder to download our free white paper today about the changing story of retirement. Visit slagelfinancial.com/empoweryou for that. And Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadslagleshow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my colleague Chad Tobin, my co-host Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.
Clothing for the Chad Slagle Show is provided by AL Custom Clothiers, a custom men's clothier that understands the value of offering our customers the best for less. ALCustomClothiers.com or 314-570-6000.